Welcome, everybody. We've got another beautiful Let's Chat with Simon and Tony, and we're really loving bringing these chats to you. And today is going to be a very special day because we've got a special guest. But first, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Tony Neal. Wellbeing is my business. I look after organisations and also individuals. Simon, tell me a little bit about you. What do you do?
Yeah, all right, Tony. What a fabulous day, and I must admit, before I get into what I do, I must acknowledge the fact that Melbourne have finally come out of some of these lockdowns. So I must admit, I'm feeling pumped, and even with the shops being open, or some of the shops being open, it's given me something to do this coming weekend. So I have to say I'm pretty excited about that. But anyway, yes, my name is Simon Bowden, and I'm a marketing business coach, and I help business owners achieve better results through the use of marketing. So welcome, and let's have a great day of Let's Chat. Back over to you, Tony. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to introduce our magnificent guest. He's a mindset coach expert. And just permit me to read his bio. I'll just have to put my spectacles on so I don't make a spectacle of myself. Ian runs Melbourne NLP Hypnosis Centre, and he helps clients overcome challenges and excel themselves. He works with clients individually, helping them overcome many forms of negative behaviour, such as smoking, weight issues, drinking issues, depression, sugar addiction, and etc. He also helps them improve in areas like in their sports, their sales, and exams. He also works with groups of business owners to help improve their business mindset and thereby helping their productivity, their own performance, and ultimately their business profits.
Fantastic.
He has now seen almost 750 clients over 12 years. Welcome, Ian. Would you just like to say a few words, Ian?
Well, good morning, everyone. It's just great to be here, and thank you so much to Simon and Tony for having me on the actual call today.
You're welcome. Great to have you on board, Ian, and we're thoroughly looking forward to sharing some thoughts and insights with you today. But perhaps I might get started, actually. And
why not go for
it, Simon? I want to get stuck into it because I've got lots of questions and certainly a few examples that I want to share anyway. So, but perhaps Dr. Ian, if you could perhaps let us know what sort of worrying business statistics are you starting to see part of this pandemic?
Look, great question, Simon. I actually heard recently from another business coach at the ATO that you're predicting, up to 90,000 businesses will fail within the next 12 months. Really amazing sort of numbers here. And also there's been numerous studies that have shown that although, the number of businesses opening has certainly been leveling off, that's actually who are closing, their numbers have been increasing dramatically, over the last couple of months. So a couple of really worrying trends there, guys.
Yeah. And sort of when you talk about some of the worrying signs, have you got clients or business owners that are going through some of those types of challenges?
I don't sort of work one-to-one with business clients as such, but we actually have had in some of our business networking groups clients actually who are really struggling to with their businesses and are finding it pretty tough in the current environment.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah. And what about you, Tony?
Well, I think as our topic of discussion, it's the mindset that's so important. So, Ian, tell me a little bit about mindset and why do you think it's so important for a business owner to be able to nail the mindset?
Well, I think a large part of the reason people or businesses are failing is because of the mindset of the owner. Because in fact, the business ultimately becomes a reflection of, guess who? The owner of the business. Including their limiting beliefs and values, any negative patterns of behavior they have, and so on and so on. But I suppose to answer your question directly, though, Tony, is that, people like, Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy and even Einstein actually have said or made statements like that success really in any endeavor, is 80% mindset and 20% strategy.
Yeah.
So, mindset from that equation, just is 4 times more important than strategy. And unfortunately, most business owners focus almost all their attention on what? Strategy. Which is why they sort of thereby can really struggle when at times get a bit more challenging as they are at the moment.
No, I totally agree. So what sort of tools do you have that can improve mindset, Ian?
Yeah, look, great question. So, I've got at my disposal NLP and hypnosis. And you might say, well, how can that actually help? You see, our minds sort of work on a number of different levels. We've got our conscious mind. We actually, we actually analyze situations, make decisions. Our short-term memory is there, plus our willpower, which can be really, really strong, particularly if we're pretty stubborn. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
But even then, we have to... Speak of the devil.
I didn't know we were talking about me.
However, we also have the unconscious part of the mind, which is responsible for all the things that that we're not conscious of. Yeah. Whether it's our bodily functions like breathing and our heart rates. It could also be our beliefs and values. It could also be just things we're just not aware of on a conscious level. And you see, all behavior, all learning, and all change are unconscious. And so if you want to sort of produce improvements in your mindset, your learning, and so on, your behavior, that can be very much accelerated, at an unconscious level. And that's why then tools that work at that level, which are both NLP and hypnosis, can really make it much easier to change these unconscious beliefs and values or patterns of behavior much more quickly and easily.
Yeah. Well, what's the relationship between your thoughts and feelings? Because to me, you really have to have that really good alignment to send out the right vibration for business success. What's your comment on that?
Well, I suppose I'd sort of will go down to what I actually a phrase I really love, and it's called the 4 important steps to success. And it says, watch your thoughts because your thoughts determine your words. Watch your words because they determine your actions. Watch your actions because they determine your habits. Watch your habits because they determine your destiny. This sort of then really powerfully illustrates the importance of those thoughts at the very beginning of that chain of events. That if we don't have those right, everything else just sort of falls by, like a little bit like a dominoes just sort of falling over as a result of that.
Yeah. So with myself, I've got a client that I've been working with for probably a couple of years now, and they're really struggling through this pandemic. And I was going to ask you, Dr. Ian, perhaps for a little bit of insight. They're struggling from the point of view of, with this, having to have their business shut down totally, so the doors are shut, and not knowing, whether they're going to be opening up or not. And getting through that, I suppose, that mindset of what am I going to do? And really, from what I've seen so far, they've got their head in the sand a little bit and trying to think, oh, look, it'll just go away. But, we all know that it's not going to go away. And what sort of insight could you perhaps offer as a suggestion to some of these people? Because, I would imagine this is not the only person that's suffering this at the moment.
I'll actually answer that with giving you a story. Okay. I heard this story about 2 restaurant owners, and they were actually in exactly the same town. And actually, they just happened to be on exactly the same road, but at opposite ends of the town. Yeah. And so when COVID hit, one of them, got so angry. Oh, this is going to really ruin everything. He sort of closed business down. He did absolutely nothing and was just whinging over and over again about his plight because of COVID.
Yes.
Restaurant number 2 what did they do? They thought, well, what can we actually do to work through the current scenario? So they actually totally rearranged their restaurant. They actually focused predominantly on takeaway meals. They created a drive-through, car park, and they actually expanded, the way they arranged the restaurant and had this sort of takeaway window at the very front. And for restaurant number 2, they did exceptionally well during the COVID period. So
I can imagine.
Yeah, so you can see exactly the same businesses, exactly the same town, same situation. Yes. In case number 1, the mindset is totally closed the business, the business owner's thinking, limiting beliefs and so on, and thereby totally almost ruin the business.
Yes.
Example number 2, they're flying through this COVID, and it's probably been one of the best things they've ever done to sort of improve their business performance.
Yes. No, great story, and thanks for sharing that, because I think that's very evident, and I think we all know somebody or a business owner like that. In actual fact, So thanks for sharing.
I saw an article in The Age, which was 2 weeks ago, which said that over 1 million Australians are suffering mental stress, if you like, or mental issues. What practical advice would you give to those people, Ian, to help? Because a lot of it's to do with uncertainty, and a lot of it's to do with anxiety. So, what sort of tools would you suggest, or typical practical things that they can do?
Yeah, look, great question, Tony. I suppose the first thing I'd probably want to emphasise here is just the huge detrimental negative effect of stress and anxiety. I mean, if you sort of think about it, not only is it detrimental to our health, but also to our ability to function and perform at an optimum level. But let me ask you guys this question. When are you most creative and can solve problems more quickly and easily? When you are stressed or anxious, or relaxed and calm?
Relaxed and calm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we can see it's so critical thereby to have tools that can allow us to sort of remain at that relaxed and calm state at all times.
Yeah.
And there are many of them that are available. In fact, Tony, you actually do quite a lot in this area in terms of helping people deal with their stress and anxiety, don't you?
Yes, I do. When we run retreats, one of the things is to get to the relaxation response, which is the exact opposite of stress. And the relaxation response is all about slowing down your thoughts and to sort of get your blood going to your organs and to your brain rather than to your muscles and your skeletal system.
Yeah, fantastic. And there are so many other ways. There's, meditation, there's yoga, Tai Chi, even relaxing music, inspiring books. And of course, one of my favorites is hypnosis, no surprise. And I'm actually going to be offering listeners today a free deep relaxation stress reduction recording that they can actually download to help them really, reduce and manage their stress moving forward. I'll come back to maybe at the very end of today's.
Fantastic.
I'd like to thank you for your generosity. I think that'll be very helpful to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I find Ian, obviously being a business coach, I'm helping my clients at all times, obviously, and I'm coming up with strategies and all that. And I find that I go for a walk every morning and every evening, and I just take a little notepad in my back pocket, and that's the time that I find that all the ideas come flooding in. Necessarily during the day when I'm dealing with this or that, or during a coaching session or whatever the case is. And so you're spot on. You're right on that cusp of that's when it all happens, when you're relaxed and calm. Yeah,
absolutely. And honouring your spirit. If you can go for a nice walk in nature, that would be so valuable. Because that's exactly what happens to me, Simon. That's where I get all my brilliant ideas. From nature.
It's just on that. It's amazing the difference, because you can be in an office with with 4 walls and a computer in front of you, and that doesn't generate any inspiration whatsoever. And but as soon as you get out into nature and you're looking at the birds, you're looking at the lake, you're looking at the forest, whatever it is, all of a sudden all the ideas just come flooding in, and it's fantastic.
It's the feeling of awe, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many wondrous things.
And what's really interesting, though, is actually our unconscious mind never stops processing and thinking about problems and issues that we have. Yeah. And it's constantly in the background just thinking about, well, this problem, which is why we often get these solutions coming up, in the morning when we've been sleeping, or in the shower, or other times, because it's still being worked on in the background, with our unconscious mind.
That's why I have a notepad, because I'm a silly old bugger. I have all these fantastic thoughts, and I'll have them in the evening. If I don't get up and actually write them down, I get up in the morning. I go, what was that thought that I had? Because chances are I've forgotten it, and even to the point where some of the times I actually do get up and I actually have a look at my notepad, thinking there's a fantastic thought there. I look at it and I sort of question myself, going, "What the bloody hell was that? That's crap."
I think it's really good, Simon. It's also to have little reminders to be mindful. For instance, if you on the hour, you have a little chime or something like that, and you sort of come back to yourself, and just your mind gets into a state where it races around. And what we've got to try and do is to slow it down, get back and focus, and be in the now and be present. That's
Totally.
And also, I heard another technique actually, which is sort of along similar lines, guys, is that that when you have a challenge or an issue, then you just say to yourself, "Look, unconscious mind, I want you to work on this, or have a solution ready for me in the morning before going to bed," and you just let it go, just release it, and just in the morning, just sort of see what comes up. It's been very effective to help people with problem solving.
That's right. Because you think about it, your conscious mind is, if you're trying to solve a problem consciously and you don't solve it, what happens to you then? So, Ian, over to you. What happens to you if your conscious mind can't solve the problem straight away?
Well, often you get quite frustrated and quite angry and pissed off.
The little person on the shoulder says, "Oh, you're not good enough."
And of course, then you're even less likely to find this, which is like a bit of a negative spiral downwards, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's right. And that's the thing. It's to stop yourself. That's the key.
Yeah. So that brings me to another question for you, Dr. Ian. Is how can we improve our focus?
Great question, and this is actually a really, really interesting topic, Simon. Yeah. You see, we unfortunately live in a distraction overloaded environment. We've got sort of constant things coming through on social media, SMS, emails. It's just never ending. And if you think about it, people actually who are really at the top of their game often have very powerful ways to be able to really stay focused when they're doing high critical type of activities. And let me give you an example. I'm going to ask both of you maybe another question. Let's just say, for example, you're playing football, or soccer, whatever it might be, and your team happens to be in the grand final.
Right.
And the scores are level. You've got a couple of minutes left in the game, right? Suddenly you get the ball, and you've got now one last shot to decide the outcome of the game. How super focused would you be taking that shot?
Very.
And that's the sort of thing that we're sort of wanting to sort of help our clients, I suppose, get into the zone when they're doing highly critical types of tasks. And we actually talk about two approaches that can be very, very helpful to do this. One actually being meditation, and the other one being self-hypnosis, which allows you to sort of, get yourself into the zone before you start working on highly critical tasks that actually need to be done in the business. I just to give you an example of how this might be used. With some of my business clients, we run what are called high productivity get it done sessions. And it comprises, it roughly goes for about an hour and a half. And we do, have you heard of the Pomodoro technique? No. Okay. So it's been found, this is an Italian guy, this is going back quite a while ago now. He actually found that if you're working 25-minute bursts and then have a 5-minute break, it's been found to be highly productive and allow you to be very, very focused.
Yeah.
And so what we do in this 1.5 hour sort of what we call a bit of a sprint is we begin by doing a bit of self-hypnosis meditation just to get people in the right state and, really sort of relaxed, calm, but also, ready for action. And then we start on that first Pomodoro cycle and then just sort of straight into it and really focused on that task. We get rid of all distractions, and then we have a 5-minute break, and then we do another 2 after that. So that's just an example of how you might use it.
Yeah, that's a great method.
That example that you just used before, Dr. Ian, about the the potential football, and you got a minute to go, and I've got the ball on the 50-meter line, and a couple of thoughts run through my mind, and I know this through coaching my clients that they either have, and it's probably more often that the thought is, oh boy, if I don't kick this, I'm letting the team down, rather than looking at it going, I've got an opportunity to kick this to win the game.
Yes.
So why is that?
It's sort of a little bit like how people respond to, challenging situations. It can produce either anxiety, or it can produce, for example, that adrenaline rush. They're really excited. They want to just, really do their best in that situation.
Yeah.
And one of the most powerful techniques I've come across just recently, in fact, Simon, on handling, anxiety or stressful situations is to sort of stop yourself and say, okay, let's visualize the successful completion of this particular event.
Yep. Yeah.
And focus only on that particular image. And then whenever you might get the old anxiety image came, like old negative, when you just sort of dump that thought and you just keep going back constantly to that positive one. And if you do that enough times, you're training your mind, your unconscious mind. You're saying, look, I don't want this, I want this. I don't want this, I want this. Yeah. And with enough repetition, you will just go only to that desired state rather than the old one.
Yeah. It's similar to, I'm taking it back probably 4 or 5 years now, but I used to run seminars for budding new business owners that wanted to open their own business. And it was run through the government organisations, or councils. And I would have 25 people in a room, and invariably I would start by asking them, why do they want to start a business? And a number of them were either already employed or in going through the process of starting another business. And I used to ask them, which I thought was really, really interesting, was, what's your backup? And it would always come back to me with, oh, well, look, if it doesn't work, I'll go back to my old job, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. Never, ever did I ever get a response by saying, well, when I'm successful, this is what I'm going to do.
Yes.
It was always the default was, if this doesn't work, I'm going to do this. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, on the sort of focusing more on the negative rather than the opportunity.
Yeah. And so is that to do with sort of focus?
It's to do with also beliefs and values.
Yeah.
And often our default position is on the negative.
Yeah.
Whereby if you can train your mind to focus more on the positive, and it does take effort and a bit of work to do that, that's when you're sort of seeing the opportunities all the time. You're seeing what's the positive upside rather than just focusing on the negative downside.
Yeah. Ian, I think how you got with hypnosis about changing belief systems? Can you give us a few examples of your clients, the ones that have succeeded with hypnosis, with belief systems?
Well, I'll just maybe give you a couple of examples. When people have challenges, for example, with things like gambling, or things like drinking, or things like, overweight, or even smoking, they end up having this limiting belief, I just cannot control myself. I can't get over this particular challenge. I've got no way of doing this. Yeah. And so one of the things that we do using both NLP and hypnosis techniques is to help re-educate their mind on what is possible. Yeah. And then we work on their unconscious mind with hypnosis, reinforce that they can do this. Yes. And they can be successful, with the right tools, resources, and support. Yep. And thereby help them through that process, Tony.
Yep, no, that's magnificent. I'm just looking mindful of the time now. We're getting close to the top of the hour. So I'd like us all to have one takeaway. So over to you, Simon. What was your main takeaway today?
Well, there's a number of takeaways for me, but give me a football and put me on the 50-metre line and I'll tell you what comes to mind. But no, look, I suppose my takeaway is, when you're presented with a challenge, you've either got a negative mindset or a positive mindset, and it's about focusing on what you want and being mindful of it. So I really appreciate your insight into that, Ian, and I'm sure I can certainly pass that on, and that'll help some of my clients. Thank you.
Excellent, Simon.
Yeah.
And my main takeaway is that the mindset is so important, because it's the noticing is the key to everything. If you're in autopilot, you're not going to you're just going to do what you've always been doing. And so for a business owner, it's about the focus, which Ian is talking about, focusing on what you need to do now, not what you have to do in the future. What you've got to do now is so important, and that's the focus. If you get that right, everything else will slip into place. And it's also dealing with the negative things that come up on your shoulder and saying to them, well, is that true? But I love how Ian does his hypnosis to actually get you into the right state at the right time. And I think one of the main takeaways is those sprints that he's talking about, like go for an hour and a half, focus, have your break.
Have a break.
Again, right? So that's my main takeaway, and I think that's a great one for us to...
Yeah, I might actually practice that a little bit myself, actually. I might set myself a goal for the week and see if, I have no doubt that it will make a difference. But it's the old story. You don't know what you don't know. So appreciate that, Ian.
So, Ian, what would your last message to our audience about...
Well, I suppose there's probably two things that I probably would just finish up on, guys. I suppose the first thing is it's critical that we sort of work on our limiting beliefs and values. If you I may ask you guys the question, how many times have you not actually even attempted something, even though it could have had a huge positive impact on your life, your business, and your health, because you doubted your abilities?
Yeah, I've probably had a couple of times. Yeah, I must admit.
It's always the case. Yeah. Like we're like an onion, and we're just peeling off the layers. There's so much stuff underneath it, and we think we're okay, but we're not.
Yeah.
So I would like to suggest one of my final sort of points is one of the most powerful things you can do moving forward is to continue working on improving your mindset regarding your limiting beliefs and values, because they will ultimately hold you back. And of course, your business will be part of that process. Yes. And then point number two, as I mentioned earlier on, stress and anxiety is a major, major challenge for many people. And we'd like to do whatever we can to help people, because of course it limits, their mindset and their productivity and performance. So I just wanted to offer all the listeners today that free recording I mentioned before, which is very powerful for deep relaxation and also reducing stress and anxiety. And I'll just give the link to Simon and Tony. I can put it underneath the recording today, and you can have access to that in the future.
Terrific. That's very generous of you, Ian.
Yeah, pleasure. I'd like to acknowledge you, Ian, for your talk today. It's been really inspiring, and even if the takeaway was just to take away half your tips, it would make a giant difference to business owners. So I invite our business owners audience to pose some questions, and if you want to catch up with Ian privately or whatever, just let Simon and myself know, and we'd love to forward you to Ian, because we've known Ian for quite a while, and
Yes.
we know his integrity and also excellence in his work. And so we recommend him very highly.
Absolutely. Good on you, Ian.
Oh,
Well, it's been great to be here again. And again, thank you so much for having me. And good morning again to all your listeners.
thank you, Ian. Now, to summarise, hasn't this been a great session today? And we learned so much from it. What I'd like us to remember is that Ian's going to give us a special gift, and for us to come back to us, and we'll make sure that you get that special gift.
Yeah.
We've got another exciting Let's Chat coming up, but we're having a little rest. We've got a few things on our calendars to do. Our next event is November the 25th, and we've got somebody really special. We've got a tradesman CEO who owns a business who's been through a lot. He's been through a lot of challenges, and he's actually brought spirituality to balance his business. Now, we're going to have a wonderful chat about that, because that's so important, and it's often an area that we forget about, how important our own spirituality is with our business.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. So we'd like to all say goodbye to all our audience. Simon, did you want to comment on that? I think that's...
No. I just wanted to say that I'm very much looking forward to our next one. I think having that particular person on will again help many of our listeners with a different view of how to run their business. So very much so. But no, special thanks again to Ian, and I everyone have a fantastic weekend, and look forward to next getting together.
That's right.
Chat with Simon and Tony.
Okay. See you later, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.